What's going on, guys? My name is Joe Graves, and this is Mastering Business Growth. Running a business can either be amazing or an absolute nightmare. So on this show, I speak with people who are killing it in business, and I find out what it really takes to succeed. If you think you'd be a good guest, then drop me an email at joe@innersound.media. Enjoy the episode. Cool, mate. Well, if you're good to jump in.
Well, it's good for me. Good morning.
Lovely. Good morning. Yeah, so this show is called Mastering Business Growth. The concept is I'm trying to learn everything I can about business so I can master business growth and actually make more money. So please tell me a bit about who you are, what you've done.
Okay, so Chris McDonald, CEO of NXD Team Limited. So we are a boutique corporate advisory firm based in Leeds. Relatively new business, but growing rapidly. My history is mainly in B2B, sales and marketing, ex-MD of Call Credit in Leeds. So I've run some big teams, some small teams. I've built businesses, bought, sold, exited, MBI'd, MBO'd. Kind of done a lot, and then I just thought, right, I'm getting a bit grey, I'm getting a bit old, I fancy putting a bit back, and I'll tell you what I'll do, like, why don't I build a business that actually does that and monetises it in a way that I can actually do what I enjoy doing, and we are thrilled. It's just amazing.
Where did this all come from? Like, where did it all start?
It's amazing. You don't realise what you've done over your career until you actually sit and think about it. And I've got this natural trait that I want to help people, and my wife, it drives her nuts. So if somebody comes to me or just mentions a problem, I'm off. I need to find a solution, and it's just my natural trait. So it's something that I enjoy. It's something that I like leaving people with hopefully a solution or a good impression, or if I need to introduce them to people. So it just makes sense. But it's amazing, as I say, how many times you've been through an exit or an acquisition, or you've built a business from scratch, and some of the things that I find naturally the way to go, a lot of people kind of go, tell me a little bit more about that. So it just made sense, and I literally spent one night thinking about what do I want to do in my kind of last few furlongs of my career, and I couldn't sleep. And for the first time ever, I had to get up in the middle of the night, get a pad and a pen, and write this down, and then I think it was about 2:30 in the morning. I didn't go back to bed. So I've been building that I've now got really good business partners. I'm surrounded by super talented people, which is really important. So don't be the cleverest person in the room. I've managed that. That's quite easy for me, actually.
Awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a natural skill. So I've got some really, really talented people with long histories of being really successful, and not always successful. You know, some of them have been failures, but you learn from whether it's positive or negative. You know, you've got to learn from both. And we've got clients that want to work with us. We've got clients that have signed for us. We're raising money for clients. We're building new businesses. It's just awesome. And we're just trying to keep a lid on it at the moment, because it's just, you know, we're almost just focusing on leads, and you know, that's achieving more than we expected. So, you know, the pipeline is amazing at the moment, and you know, the clients that we've signed, I'm enjoying it. A big part of it is about working with the right people, both internally and your clients and your partners. And somebody taught me a long time ago, don't work with people you don't like, don't work with people you don't trust. And now I can do that and say, that's not working for me for whatever reason. And if I've got a really strong internal flag, and if my instinct's going, that's not right, it's usually not. So there you go.
So as someone who's naturally solution focused, that's obviously a great benefit, because running a business, you have to be solution focused. People don't care about the fact that you want to make money. They want to know what you can do for them. So what made you decide to channel that into businesses specifically, as opposed to just running around being a charitable man?
I mean, I'm doing some of that anyway. So I'm doing some stuff for Connect Yorkshire. I hate the term, but entrepreneur in residence. So doing some kind of pro bono stuff with people who have now since become friends, which is good. And I quite enjoy that. I'm doing some charitable stuff as well. So working with Martin House and Candlelighters. So it's not all about the profit. And in fairness, I didn't do this to make profit, but ultimately, you know, we've got to pay, you know, the building and people's wages and all the rest of it. I'm a big believer, and if you do it right and do it well, the rest will come. So, you know, my plan is not a number. My plan is to be the best at who we are and to have a really good reputation.
I really like that, because when you run a business, it can be so hard, and you need to, you need to enjoy it. Otherwise, why would you do it?
No, I'm loving it. I mean, I was on the phone this morning with my son, who's also got a business, and I'm a shareholder, and he's expanding, and he's doing a really good job. And I was chatting to him, and I kind of said, look, I apologise, I've not had much chance to sit and chat to you over the last couple of weeks. And he said, Dad, I've seen what you're doing. It's amazing. He said, we've got this. He said, you've taught me, you know what, he said, I know you're there if I need you. So that's an important part. But I think, if I'd have had access to the resources that we have at NXD when I was setting up my first business, it'd have been twice as big, twice as quick, sold it for twice as much. But I've no regrets. I just think, we've got the right people with the right attitude, who are collegiate, who want to help. They want to help people. They want to help clients. They want to be successful and share some of their experiences. And it's just refreshing to see. And it's great to have people around me that think in the way that I do, and that just want to do a good job. And as I say, the rest will come. It's never been about a number to me. I get quite scared looking at some of the social media posts at the moment, and you need to work 3 hours a week, and don't work beyond 5 o'clock, and the harder you work, funny that, the luckier you become. And I just people need to make sure that they're listening to the right sources, and sometimes TikTok may not be always the right source. Some of it is, but not much.
No, I agree. You said earlier about making sure you're working with the right people. I mean, life and business are all about people, relationships. You said you were told only work with the right people. Did you have to find out the hard way yourself at any point?
Oh, I'm constantly finding out the hard way. Even though, because people give a great interview, they can say the right things and make promises. It's when they don't deliver.
So is this specifically your staff, or is this clients too?
Both.
Yeah.
Both. People have an agenda, and it's my job to find out what that agenda is. And if it's an agenda that's positive, whatever that, our strapline is helping business leaders deliver on their vision. If they've got a vision and we buy into it and we think it's realistic and achievable, then we think we can help, we'll do it. Conversely, if we don't think we can help, or we don't think it's achievable, we'll tell them, or alternatively, we'll back away. What I do like to do, though, is if I can't, my conscience won't allow me to work with a client for whatever reason, because I don't think we're the right fit for them, I will still go out and find somebody that is, or I'll try certainly to do that. But I think it's really important, integrity, trust. I've worked with some people that, over the years, we all have, I'm sure, that you thought you could trust, and you can't. And I've just got to trust myself in I'm taking people on for the right reasons, and sometimes it's really, really successful, but you're going to have to, you kiss a few frogs, don't you?
Yeah, of course. I mean, that sounds like quite a luxury to only be able to work with people that you like. Is that something you've really had to earn?
Possibly.
Because sometimes you are forced to do things for the money, or like, this is the only guy available for this job, or whatever.
Yeah, whenever you do that, it's the wrong decision.
Of course, yeah. Sometimes it's like, is it ever like, my hands are tied, I just have to? But this is going to
as long as you know it's for a reason and you can mitigate the risk, then do it. We've all done that. We've all had to take a deal that in an ideal world we wouldn't. But a friend of mine a long time ago called it the Daily Mail test.
Okay.
And it still resonates with me now. If you were doing something, would it stand the Daily Mail test? So, for example, I had a data business, very successful a number of years ago, and that was just when the PPI thing came out, the whole, furore with all the banks, and we were working with banks, and we were working with credit reference agencies and some big names, and I chose as a business not to sell data to help the companies that were claiming against the banks, for no other reason than PPI is actually a product that's good, and most people bought it in the knowledge that it was a good product. It was more of a loophole in terms of the way it was sold, and I didn't agree with it. And I certainly didn't agree with, on the one hand, working with banks, and then on the other hand, providing data to go against the banks. So I made a choice, a financial choice, which cost me probably millions. I really don't mind. I sleep well at night. And ironically, when the credit reference agency bought our business, when we were going through the due diligence, they said, how much of this data have you used for PPI? And I said, 0. And they went, and I saw there were 11 of them around my table, and they all kind of looked down, ticked the box. And we talked about it. I talked about it to the MD and just said, it's not for me. It just didn't agree with it. I could have made millions. I didn't. And he said, well, I think you made the right decision. and they bought us. So, yeah, as I say, conscience, that would have stood the Daily Mail test.
Of course.
So there are certain things, you meet people in your career and they say things to you that maybe resonate a little bit at the time, and then one day in the future, you're not even expecting it, it'll come back into your head that they've said something, and you kind of go, they're right. And working with good people, working with talented people, doing the right thing, walking away when maybe everything in your body is telling you to stay, but there's something telling you that's not right. Listen to your instinct. And that's a really, really brave thing to do. But, I am a Yorkshireman, as you could tell from the accent. I do speak fairly bluntly, much to, again, my wife's chagrin. But I am straight. And if I think it works, it'll work. If I don't think it'll work, I'll tell you. And that's not really something that's really faltered me throughout my career so far.
Do you believe in karma? Is that why you make these decisions?
Hell yeah.
Right?
Hell yeah.
Has that ever paid off big time? Just following your gut?
Yeah, and there's a couple that are coming.
Right.
Just because people make the wrong decision, and I see it from a distance, I'm not going to do anything about it. But we've had people copying our business that really that's inappropriate. Just the way they've done it is like, or agree to something contractually, and I could have gone to town on them, but I decided against it. Because I just want to move on and do whatever. So yeah, karma will work. It works in many mysterious ways, I'm sure. But I just think do the right thing. I can sleep at night. I'll genuinely help clients. I have fun doing that. Clients trust me. I think the guy the other day, I posted something on LinkedIn about trust. And again, certain things resonate, and when you get older, it kind of resonates more. Because you think about things deeper, I think, than you do when you're younger. Because you tend to, you're off doing stuff, aren't you? You don't tend to think about that deeply. Certainly, I didn't. And this guy said, "Look, I'm loving working with you." He said, "And you're a very select member of my very small inner circle of trust." I was waiting for him to lock the door when he said that. But anyway, he said that to me, and I just went, "Well, that's really nice to hear, but I'm not overtly trying to do that. It just is the way that I am." And he said, "Oh, I know that." He said, "Instinctively, you want to do the right thing." So, that's the business. That's our culture. I will never change that. I will never try to do a deal with somebody that's in my favour and not in theirs. We've got to, people say, "Oh, you shouldn't never have a win-win." No, I'll do a deal that feels uncomfortable for both. They've got to come a little bit and we'll come a little bit if that's the case. But I also believe in value. And there are a lot of businesses that I see in various different sectors that will go out there and try and win something on price, and it's not a good idea. It really isn't. It's just a race to the bottom. We are really good at what we do. My people are really good at what they do, and there's a price to pay for that because you're getting value.
Yeah, I mean, I wonder that myself all the time. If we've been in a situation where we've quoted someone else has beat us on price, it's like, you almost don't want to stick your beak in too far and be like, well, good luck with that one, because I don't see how it can be done.
You've got to rise above it, in my opinion.
It's like, well, they'll be cutting corners, I'll tell you that.
Yeah, and just say, look, good luck. What the strategy I've always adopted there is good luck with that. I hope it works well for you, genuinely. I don't necessarily agree with the way you're going, but that's fine. That's your decision. However, I would say to you, if things don't work out, we're still here. Come and talk to me. Generally, they do.
It'd be good to teach people as well that you're not a sore loser, because that can happen a lot in business.
Yeah, and you get better at that as you get a little bit older. You kind of go, there are, what's the old term, plenty more fish in the sea, but there is so much business out there for the right calibre. And what you'll find is when you turn one away, they either push back harder, which is, a known thing, or alternatively they will come back, or alternatively tomorrow you'll find another one. My CFO keeps saying you're the master of analogies, but there's always every problem comes bearing gifts, and I love that term.
That's nice.
I even used that last night. I play for a band, and one of the players has let us down. We're in the national finals this weekend. And
you play for a band?
Yeah, in a brass band. It's nothing.
Oh, nice.
It's nothing cool.
What is the brass band?
So I play for Shepherds in York,
right?
Which is part of the Shepherd family. Portakabin sponsored. The
nice.
Amazing band, and a great 150 players all the way from kids. They teach deaf kids to play. It's an amazing organisation. What a legacy!
Yeah,
but that's another story on another day.
Of course, yeah.
But I'm helping another band out in the finals. A friend of mine that I've known for 40 years, and he went, "Hey, I need some help," and I'm like, "I really want to do it because I'm busy, but I'll do it." And I've been schlepping back to Sowerby Bridge from Knaresborough like every night for 2 weeks. And anyway, one of their players has decided he's a bit poorly and he's not coming on Sunday. It's the national finals, and we haven't got time to sign anybody. And it's just things like that. So I said that to the conductor, who's my friend, and I just went, "Look, every problem comes bearing gifts. It might be a blessing. So we've got to get a sick note and then find another player." And I could feel the tension in the room just go, that's okay. And that's what I like to do, is just try and diffuse things where possible. But don't mistake that for weakness or lack of passion. I've got that in droves. I'm a passionate individual about what I believe in.
Yeah, you must be, and I say this to a lot of people, when you're speaking to business owners, you don't need to know anything about them to know that they've been through hell. And the only reason they're still standing is because they have insane character, or that they've built it. And that's why I'm so interested in talking to people.
Once again, we rise. It's tenacity is only part of the story. We've got to rise bigger, bolder. Stuff doesn't work. It don't work. It can't. It's not always your fault. The UK is not very good at things like that. If somebody's had a business that's failed, it's not you that's a failure. It's a learning point. There's a reason why it did, and it could be you didn't have enough money, wrong timing, Brexit. There's a million different reasons. People usually. There's a million different reasons why companies fail. Dust yourself down and get on with it, and do it again, and do it better. Learn and do it again.
It's that simple, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's all about attitude.
Yeah.
I want to go back to something you said earlier about people copying you. Can you tell us a bit more about specifically the services you offer?
Yeah, so the NXD team, the principle behind it is a corporate advisory. But what we've done is we got described the other day by a really clever lady at a venture capital business, and she said, "You're like a walking value creation business," which just, again, that's resonated with me, because that's what I was trying to create, and that's what I think we've done. So we work with businesses all the way from formation all the way through to exit and now beyond. So January sees the launch of our a virtual family office. So that's for people that have gone through a liquidity event. So essentially they sold the business. It helps them with financial services, wealth management, but also concierge, holiday watches, cars, boats, events, all that kind of stuff. But beyond that, it also helps them with education for them and the family. If you obviously sell a business for a lot of money, your world's changed. What we don't want to do is get the kids to not understand what this family trust is all about, but we also don't want them all over social media showing the front door, the back door, what the security is. My dad's just bought a Lambo, whatever that may be. But also the whole kind of charity element at the end. So we're looking for people to really get involved in charitable causes in their lifetime, which is the way they do it in the States, as opposed to in the will, which is the way they tend to do it in the UK. So we do a lot of that. But the advisory business really is NXD Advisory. So that's helping businesses form the business, raise funds, debt, whether that's, building structure, strategy, all the use culture, that kind of stuff. We've then got NXD Innovation, which we've got some very clever people that are helping a lot of clients. And this is amazing how many companies have got no idea about innovation, AI. What does it mean? They just think it's chat GPT, and it's not. So we've got a lot of clients that we're running workshops with. We've got an AI maturity index that we've created for clients, which is bespoke, and one or two other bits that we're working on with clients, and that's a really exciting part of the business. We've then got an NXD People. So for me, people is a big part of every business. So we're looking at high-performing individuals, people strategy, inclusion, wellness, well-being, all that kind of stuff, and helping people with training and some new technology there. We've also got another couple of elements to the business service-wise, which one is a media business, so things like this, This is really important. I'd much rather do this than talk at people. I just don't think that works. Certainly doesn't for me. And we've got another part of the business which is around procurement as well. So when a business becomes more mature, they tend to get a bit lazy. There might be 4 or 5 lines in their P&L that maybe need addressing. So we'll help them with that. And then ultimately we'll help them package their business and prepare their business for sale, exit, whatever that looks like, whether that's IPO, whether that's, trade sale or whatever it may be. And then ultimately we'll have already got the owners ready for the next part of their life. And we'll help them with business services as well, because generally, if I get to the point where we exit from NXD in 3 to 5 years, for whatever reason, I'm not going to stop. I'm not going to go, right, I'm off going to get some flip-flops on and go on the beach. I can't. I'd last about 3 days. So we're going to help businesses and individuals where they've got that liquidity event, they've got a bit of cash, and they might say, well, actually, I fancy doing something slightly different, bit of a portfolio where we're buying businesses or I'm investing in business or whatever it may be. So we can help all the way along the line. So it sounds quite complex, but it's not. We're literally adding value all the way through that journey. And that word journey is something that I use with all of my clients. Look, we want to go on that journey with you. We'll help you. We'll keep guiding you. So as you go off course, which they will, A to B is a straight line. It's never a straight line. It's always like this. So when it does start to waver off course, we'll help them just get it back in line, and we can be as involved or not involved as they need us to be, but we can always bring in whatever real expertise they need at the time they need it, because you don't always need an AI specialist for the whole time. You might need a 3 months here and then another month, or then just an ongoing measurement. So that's really what we were creating, and we're not just a group of fractional consultants. That's not what I wanted to create. Anybody could do that. This is a group of really talented individuals, and we've got new investors, new people coming in, new shareholders, new directors that have looked at it from afar, and some of them appeared by, wow, I haven't spoken to you for 20 years, and they're like, I've been watching what you're doing, I really want to get involved, I love it. And that's quite refreshing, because you kind of just get on with it. And I don't want praise, I just want people to want to work with us. That's my thing that I like. That's the thing I'll put in my pocket. Yeah, you want to get involved, that's great.
That's amazing. So before we started shooting, I mentioned to you, I think there's 2 clear different parts to any business. There's the part where there's the service you provide or product you sell.
Yep.
And that's usually clear, and people put all the time and energy into that when they first start, and then they later kind of realize, oh shit, I need to find a way to introduce business. No one's just coming to me. What's going on? So you start looking into business development, lead generation, that kind of thing. So in terms of your own operations, how do you go about introducing people to what you do?
Right. Okay. So I look at these in 2 different ways. So the business itself needs to be fully functional, operational, and scalable. Because if your ultimate plan, your ultimate plan might be, I'm going to stay in this business for 20 years and I want a lifestyle.
Interesting, that's scalable.
Yeah, it's got, for me, if you're going to sell, technology, for example, it's not usually about the technology, because there's millions of companies out there that have got technology. Very, very rarely is it unique. It's the scalability, so it's the distribution that's the value. Can you scale what you've got to become huge, global or whatever? So for me, any business that I've ever built has always been based around and predicated upon a decent infrastructure, so that as it grows, it's not going to fall over. And that costs money, that costs time, and you look at it from the outside going, well, they're not really doing that much. If you saw what was underneath the surface of our business, the technology, the fact that it's all talking to each other, because what I didn't want was a plumber's bathroom, which we've all heard that term.
I've actually not heard that one. I've heard of
it's just
and all that.
Shocking. Where we're trying to show clients how to do all these things, but we're not doing it ourselves.
Mate, that's why one of the reasons I'm doing this podcast. I can't run around telling everyone how good they are and not be doing one myself.
Yeah. Absolutely, you've got to do it. Yeah, absolutely. So the first part of it is get the business strong, robust, scalable. Get your products to work and be of value, and really that value will then create the next part, which is word of mouth. There's nothing more pleasing for a business than somebody recommend. You talked about it earlier on with people recommending what you're doing to people that That's got to be the most pleasing part of what
it's not even just that, mate. So I shot 2 more podcasts yesterday, and the second guy I spoke to, he was talking about makes a lot of money, does very well, and he's like, everything he says, contacts equals contracts. And I believe that every meaningful kind of job I've ever got has come of, what is it he said? There's an over 80% conversion rate on word of mouth.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So if you can harness that.
Because you've already got beyond stage 1, which is you're good enough.
Yeah.
If you're good enough for him, her, them, that company, whatever, you're good enough for me. So word of mouth is a really great way, but the way that I look at building a business, and it's just the way that works for me, and it doesn't always work for everybody, is I look at it like a load of levers, and you've got to pull all the levers, not necessarily at the same time. So if you're working in a specific industry, so historically I've worked in banking or finance or law firms or whatever. The law firms were mainly around a local-ish network, because law firms tend to be a little bit like that. So your networking is really important. Speaking to the right people, asking for referrals. People don't do, you go to a networking event, ask them who they are, be interested, be curious. That's a big word, is curious. But be curious about them, but ask them, do you know anybody that you think might be interested in working with me? It costs you nothing. And people love doing that. They're actual in their nature. As I said to you earlier on, I want a solution. If somebody came to you, said to me, can you give me 3 people by the end of the week that would really love to do this? What am I going to do?
Mate, you're echoing yesterday's guest.
Oh, right, okay.
It's the same thing, and it's amazing to hear it from 2 people in a row. It clearly works.
It absolutely does work. And that's not from a textbook. It's from experience. You absolutely know that. So I think, asking for referrals, being a bit cheeky, but doing it in a nice way. Why not?
Don't have to be cheeky.
They could always say no.
Yeah.
I've got a psychometric profile from 30 years ago, probably, maybe 20 years ago, and it's confirmed that I actually hate networking personally. If I walk into a room with people that I don't know, I feel sick.
Yeah, but do you hate meeting people? Or do you hate organised networking?
I hate
intentional. We're there to schmooze.
I'm at a school disco and nobody wants to dance with me. That's the way I look at it. And I'm not going to walk up to that girl over there because she's really cute, because she might say no. And it's just a thing. But once I'm off, or if I'm in a room where I recognise somebody, I'm straight over there because I'm with somebody then. And then all of a sudden, you're not in that world where you stood by the bar or in the corner checking your phone, which is a lot of people do. So I just think you've got to be brave. You've got to put yourself out of your comfort zone. That's another story entirely. So things like networking, getting back to the point, networking is important. Leveraging your existing network. You'd be amazed how many people will be prepared to help you if you just ask them. Because why? They're busy doing their day job, aren't they? They're busy with their own lives. But if you spoke to somebody and said, mate, you know this guy or lady or whatever, can you introduce me to her? And they'll go, yeah, of course I can. But it won't cross their mind that that might be a useful connection. Sometimes it does, the odd one. So you need to be aware of where you think you need to go and who can help you get there. It's a lot quicker doing it with somebody else's help than it is on your own. You can still do it on your own because you're obviously a bright guy, but you just need to try and use what you can without abusing it as well. I don't believe in that. But, just introduce me. I mean, I was reading my emails at 11 o'clock last night because I met some guys yesterday morning and they were super excited about what we did. And they went, oh, are you happy for us to introduce you to people that we think might be of use? And I went, yeah, absolutely, go for it. My email was going mental. I was at a band rehearsal and I could feel my phone on the floor going zzz, zzz, and I checked it after band and I was looking at it at like 11 o'clock and I've got all these people this morning to go back to, and I was on my phone again at 6 this morning responding to them, apologising because I didn't get back to them last night at 11. So reference points, word of mouth, reputation, noise. You need to make some noise about your business. I think you as an individual, if you're leading a business, people want to hear from you. So if you look at Elon Musk or, I don't know, Richard Branson, they've got millions of followers. Tesla don't have the same level because it's about Elon and what he does. So that's a regular thing that everybody talks about. I think be self-critical as well. So there are some people that are doing videos at the moment that make me cringe a little bit, because I just think you need to be a little bit more self-aware, because look at I've seen businesses that are offering social media services and LinkedIn services, and you look at the engagement and it's zero, and you're thinking maybe need to rethink that one. So there are various ways. Off the page generally doesn't work, and it's really hard to measure. Digital, the world of email marketing, that's changed. I'll be honest, what I don't like is automated LinkedIn messages. I could spot it from a million miles away, and I'd just go, "You're no longer a contact. Don't do that to me."
Greetings, pleased to have met you.
Oh, yeah. Or even, I've been really impressed with what NXD Team are doing. I've had people trying to sell what we do back to me, and I'm going, you really... So I could spot the automated stuff, and I've always been a fan of snipering, as I call it, which is, don't get the shotgun out and try and kill as many people as possible. Pick your targets, pick them well, understand them, and if you think you've got something that they want, understand their why. So why am I doing what I'm doing, and why am I going to speak to you about this? And just put yourself in a position where they're noticing you, and you don't have to go in for the jugular straight away, because eventually they'll and it's not a game. It's just, I know we could work together. I'm just not quite sure what that looks like, but I'd just like you to be part of my network, and let's, let's share some business. Come on. Let's be grown up about this, I think I can do something with you. I'm not quite sure what it is yet, but let's chat about it in the future. You don't need, unless you're selling, widgets, you don't need millions of clients. You need a number of clients. Enough, not each one needs to be more than 5%. The usual rules apply and things like that. But you need enough clients where you will get them dropping off the bottom. They get sold, or they, somebody new comes in or whatever. Keep topping it up. But what I am a big fan of is time is a killer. So if I'm speaking to somebody that are really excited today, I'm not going to write to them next week or the week after. I'm on it today. You need to pick up on that excitement. You let things go. You get a client that's kicking the can down the road, let them kick the can down the road. They're not going to do it. I ain't got time to mess around. So, and we've had those where, I've worked with clients who will say, no, I know it's there. And I'm saying, there's a difference between perseverance and over-optimistic, perseverance. If the client's not ready, they'll come back when they're ready. And tell them that, and they'll be relieved. Because at the moment, all you're doing is making them feel like they have to give you excuses, which is what they're doing. They haven't got the budget, they haven't got the time, it's not quite right for them. But just find out and say, look, you're not doing it, I get it. What do we need to do? And if it's a case of it's wrong time, brilliant. I'll come back, let me know when you're ready. And they'll respect you for that.
So meet people, be ready, let them know, and wait for them to come to you.
Yeah, and be responsive. And bring your A game. Be professional. Give them value. If you go into a meeting, look like you mean it. I'm not saying necessarily. All right, I made an effort, but dress for the occasion. And that's not aimed at you, because you're.
I was going to say, I think there's quite a clear difference in our attire
that's
today.
Just me, it may be a bit of a suit of armour. I'm sure people will say that, but I do. There are days when, if I'm working from a home office, I'll have jeans on, trainers, and a hoodie. It's whatever I feel comfortable in at the time. But if I'm going in to pitch to a big law firm or a big VC, I'm making an effort. I'm thinking about it. What do I need to do to kind of measure up in the right way without looking like I'm trying too hard? So it's not just about what you say; it's the way you do it, how you deliver it, how you follow things up. There are no real secret formulas. There are lots of books out there that you can read. Just be good. Just be the best you can be, and mean it. Be authentic.
You are the 8th person that I've spoken to in 2 weeks since I started this, and that is very much the common thing. Obviously, a lot of people out there are telling you, oh, here's the secret to lead gen, here's the secret to this, here's blah, blah. And all the people that are actually out there making money are going, there isn't one. I'm just ready, and I meet people.
Yeah. as I say, if you're selling widgets and you're selling lots of them, that works. If you want a strategic, deep-seated, value-based relationship with somebody, it's got to start on that basis. You will get the odd bluebird that comes in. I love a bluebird. They're not very often, but you know it when it comes in and it lands and you see it flying across and you're like, okay. I've just had one on the way here this morning, which I can't tell you about, but great. Somebody who wants to invest in a business. It turns out to be the son of a guy that bought one of my businesses, and that's a bluebird. I mean, I thought he'd retired, and he's all over one of the other businesses that I'm involved in, and he really wants to play because it's a passion. And it just so turns out, my son rang me and went, "What do you think?" And I'm like, "Really? Is that who?" And he's like, "Yeah, do you know him?" And I'm, "Yeah, a bit." So yeah, I think you need to be ready. You need to be authentic. You need to be passionate. I think if you're not passionate about what you do, people, they can sense it.
So tell me a bit about, let's say you've met some people, you've got a lead that's come in, someone wants to work with you. Just walk me through the process of how it would work from that point, they're ready to work with you, to you are now working for them. What does it look like?
Okay, so we have a various different ways of doing it, but the first thing that I or any of my guys would do is to understand the client, understand the drivers, understand the business, understand the challenges. What are they trying to achieve? Is it realistic? Is it reasonable? We might need a lot more background information. We've got one client who's been really good. He's wanting to raise a lot of money, and he's in the lending world, which we've got a lot of experience in. And we need a lot more background, because what we said is we need to get in front of the questions before you get them asked about you, because he's going to need to present to some of these funders. And what we don't want to do is A, surprise you, B, not be ready for it, and C, we don't want to put you or us in that position where they're going to go, okay, that we're switched off. So the bit for us is about finding out everything we can about the client, but in a genuine way, so that we're going, right, we're working, we're on this journey with you. We're not doing it with a blindfold on. We need to understand. So is there anything we need to know? Tell us now. We're not going to judge you for it, but we need to know. And are there any things that you might have not thought about that, may be really important to us, but we don't know what we don't know? So throw everything at us, shoebox, and then we'll have a look through and see what we need. And so with a lot of clients, we'll do the basics of show me the numbers, let's have a look at the plan. If it's a fundraise and it's an IM, 9 times out of 10, they need a lot of work. And I've worked in sales and marketing for years, and a good IM is rare. And I think a lot of the people that we work with are saying, the business principle looks pretty good, but the IM looks a little bit poor. And we're getting a lot of work in to do that. So we work with partners who are absolute specialists at it. So we'll do that. We'll go away. We'll then chat about what the solution could look like, and it could be the solution is it's not us. The alternative is the solution could look like this, and we'll walk them on the journey as to how deep they want us to get involved in that business. So we can either teach them, they do it, we'll go on the journey with them, our preferred solution, or we'll do it all for them. They're never going to learn, are they? Teach a man how to fish.
Maybe not everyone wants to, though. Like, do you find that's common?
Potentially, yeah. I mean, somebody who's in, I don't know, sportswear may not be very comfortable in a scenario whereby they're going out to raise money. We are. So, we'll do what we're good at, they do what they're good at. It's very important as well when you're selling a business is not to take your eye off the ball, because it's not an overnight thing. So if you're looking to exit, minimum 6 months of prep and getting everything in place, and not just everything as in reporting this information, but making sure it's all up to date and all your licenses are up to date, all your insurances are up to date, your P&L's up to date, everything that needs to be right, so that somebody can come in and open the lid and not find any skeletons. That's the first thing. The second bit is the kind of the beauty parade. We would always recommend having competitive tension, whether it's fundraising or acquisitions or whatever it may be, because that just shows that there's more appetite for your business than just one business. But you also need to hit your numbers during that period. So, for example, when I was selling my business, I had a guy that was running the day-to-day sales, and I put a bonus structure in from my exit plan for him personally. I'll pay you tax and I'll which is what we did. And I said, but you need to hit these numbers. If anything, you need to go beyond. He did. And then the lady who was the kind of ops director, she came with me on all the presentations. I gave the presentation, but she was my parachute, so that when they came to me with a really detailed question that I probably wouldn't be able to answer, she could. And it worked. So really the process is understand the issue, if there is an issue, or the opportunity, decide whether or not we can do it, find out some more information in relation to the detail, go back with a proposal, and then we'll agree on what that looks like, what timescale it looks like, the fee structure, and then we'll go.
That's something I wanted to touch on, the sort of fee structure and whatnot. Is this something you'd be able to like productize, or is it always custom, is it always bespoke?
Everyone is unique. Clearly I want something that's monthly recurring. ARR is the magic word. We've got a couple of products that we think we can do that with, and that are genuinely a good idea. Some of the things that we do within advisory, for example, are really, the kind of 1 to 6 to 12 months kind of period. You can't really productize that. But certainly within the innovation piece, we're building some fairly clever tech that I believe will be useful. And the bit around AI and innovation also has an element of compliance, governance, making sure you're still compliant. There's a new EU, obviously, rules around AI that have just come out. You need to make sure you're compliant. So there are elements of the business that will be like that. So we'll have a bit of a blend. And I like that because obviously things change and markets fly and some markets drop. And as long as I've got that EQ, it'll work. The old kind of radio in the old days. You probably won't remember those, but I do.
Absolutely.
So yeah, I mean, with any business, you need to have contracted revenue. You need to have, where you can, recurring revenue, because that's where your multiples start to get interesting.
Well, that's kind of what we switched to recently. I mentioned before, like we have packages that we sell now just for simplicity's sake. Obviously, we can give people a better deal on that because it's predictable. We value that.
Yeah.
It makes it so much easier. But then obviously we still got the day rate stuff and whatnot. And I must say, even if at first you find, you know what, I'm turning away work because it's the same amount of effort to land one project, meet a new prospect, turn them into a client, and do one job as it is getting someone who's paying you X amount every month.
Yeah.
So it's one of them things where I've found that's like a really
worthy and if you've got your fixed costs covered, that's great.
Yeah.
That's great. You can then start to go, right, okay, well now we can, that's all covered. I get up in the morning and we're covered. What we now need to do is, right, let's think about how do we grow? How do we start putting the building blocks together? And what does that look like? And it just gives you that peace of mind, and that then makes you relax, and that then makes you win more business. As soon as you start, it's like looking for a girlfriend. I use this analogy, another analogy, but it's like looking for a girlfriend. When you're looking for one, you never find one. As soon as you stop looking and go, no, I'm going to have a year off.
Yeah, what is the deal with that?
Wife, we've been married 30 years next year. I'm going to have a year off 8 days later.
Do you know what? Me and my brother have been talking about that recently. Like, some people will call it God, some people call it the universe. We've just been calling it the overlords. Like, we're starting to acknowledge something's going on up there,
Yeah,
like absolutely. All these things are falling into place.
There's a lot of things. I mean, we could talk ourselves in and out of anything, but certainly from my experience, as soon as you start to say, I really don't want that client, as soon as you start pushing back because I'm busy or it's not right for us or don't quite feel, they'll push back. It's amazing. So it does work, but you don't do it to get that end result. You just find that when you do that, it tends to come back. But you've just got to trust your instinct, trust your gut. If you can trust your gut with a little bit of analysis behind it, that's even better. But just, do the right thing. Make your clients remember that meeting. That, everybody I meet probably does 10 or 12 meetings a week minimum. I want to be the one they remember, not because I'm walking in dressed like a clown, but certainly want to be the one where they go, yeah, I like him, and I think he could do whatever he said he could do. And I once worked for a business. Their strapline was delivering on the promise. Quite a simple, not unique, but it really resonates with me. Does that? It's all right saying we can do this, but can you?
Do you know what? Since we got into the sort of B2B space, because our background is in music, we were music producers for over 10 years.
Right.
I've noticed that because it's a very diluted market now. It wasn't when we first got into it, and that's one of the things that pushed us into looking into other things. I've noticed that there seems to be, not from my own experience, but talking to other people in the B2B space, there's a lot of people that promise you the world and let you down. Obviously, you'll have way more experience in that.
Oh, there's loads. There are loads. There's a lot of, excuse the French, bullshit out there. People, this is where I went back to the TikTok comment that I mentioned earlier on. Really? You can make, be a marketing guru and you can make,
people are watching one YouTube video and then selling a service.
Yeah, it's like, but buy this book and no, and it, it doesn't come easy. It doesn't. If it does, brilliant, well done. You're really fortunate. It's hard graft. You've got to wake up in the morning. You've got to get on it. People I know that have never had their own business, they just genuinely don't understand. And I'm not necessarily expecting them to do, but they get paid at the end of the month, particularly when they work for a big company. There are very few of them. If they threw a pebble in the water, it'd even ripple because they're part of 10,000, 100,000 people. And they play the game, and it frustrates me when I've got a client like that you kind of going, this is major, and they just don't, oh yeah, let's book something in for 8 weeks, and you're like, really? If that was your own business, you'd have gone pop by now.
I can't believe some people's lack of urgency. I cannot
Crazy.
believe it.
Crazy.
Me and my brother, we, believe it or not, I went to the gym this morning at 6 a.m. And we were talking about that. I can't. What's that? Sorry. No. We've been getting up at 5, trying to change our lives, But I can't remember the exact thing we were talking about, but it's such a common theme, and it led us to have a little rant about it. Like, what is everyone's deal with? Like, cool, let's do this now. Like, I'm just gonna do nothing for 2 weeks, then I'll go on holiday for a bit. And I'm like, fucking do it now. Yeah. Why? Why not now? Yeah. I remember what it was. I'm in the process of putting a deal together with someone. Started last night, and we were there. I was on the treadmill this morning, 6:30. This guy's pushing it through. I'm like, that's more like it.
Yeah.
That's what I like to do. Why isn't everyone doing this?
Yeah. I mean, there is a balance.
Yeah.
I get that, but, even when you're on holiday, she always looks beautiful, but my wife takes longer than I do to get dressed. No shit, Sherlock. And, that's my kind of hour to just check up on things and, and you get people that say, oh, I'm not touching my emails for 2 weeks. That would drive me nuts. I'm like, I could not do that. So from a personal perspective, I just think, do what if I get, my barometer is Sam, she'll kind of go, yeah, you need to give it a rest now. It's not going anywhere. So, and she's good at that because I'm so passionate about getting it done. But I think generally, a lot of people that I see post-COVID as well, I don't know what happened with some people, but there's a lot of social media out there, and obviously once you get into a rabbit hole, people are seeing it where they're going, you're only an employee, they don't love you, they'll get rid of you, and don't get bought into that. It's never served me badly whenever I've worked for somebody else. Funnily, I've always been relatively successful, and I've always had a term, if you've got a 9-to-5 job, it's a 9-to-5 lifestyle. Don't witter if you're seeing people that are hustling. And when I say hustling, not in the, again, TikTok style, but they're working hard, doing what it takes, and the people that generally are doing what it takes do very well. So there is a difference, and I'm not judging people, but don't judge me if, you're at the bus stop and I'm not. I've been working hard, and I'll continue to do that. And if it works, great. If it doesn't, I just know I've worked 40 years. I left school at 15. It's not something that I've ever known any different. And I've never not worked. So it's amazing.
We're the same, me and my brother. It's too easy to complain and be like, oh man, it is hard out there. It's insanely hard. And, some people do moan about like, it's the whole football thing, isn't it? As if they get paid that much. It's like, well, that's what the market pays them. So, of course, they're probably getting a fraction of what they could. Yeah, it's mental. It's like, do you know what? If you wanted to, you could have started training when you were 7 years old. You could have gone into that. It's there if you want.
Yeah, and kicked a football for 8 hours a day, 7 days a week. For
Absolutely.
10 years. And what they don't see is all the footballers that don't make it.
It's a brutal market.
It's a very short career is football, and they're 30, 35, they're done. you've still got another 50 years in you. So good luck to him, I say. If this kid that's just gone over to the Far East who's earning 400 grand a week tax free, good on him.
Yeah,
he could break his leg next week. So that I don't envy people like that. If they're that talented, it is 1 in a million. The Formula One drivers. Everybody wants to. My son used to race karts when he was little, and we got to a certain level, and obviously it got very, very expensive. But you've got to be. I always promised myself not to be a karting dad, as we call them, and these were the kids that were really pushing the kids on, and we know, Alex Albon, and we know the story behind George Russell and how much their parents have put in, and Lando Norris's dad is a wealthy guy, but it doesn't mean to say that he's not talented. I mean, the kid's unbelievable. Lewis Hamilton is unbelievable. They all are. To get to that level and stay there, they are super, super talented people, and I just think hats off. If you're that good at something, well done.
I found it's actually more rare to see someone who's doing incredibly well and they didn't earn it. Because it's so frowned upon. Like often when people have just been, born with a silver spoon sort of thing and they never had to work for anything, you don't see it much. Often it's like, even if people have opportunities,
people that witter about it that are the ones that
never actually tried anything.
They'll never be that. So I don't. It's noise. Just don't listen to it.
Yeah. Couldn't agree more.
That just tires me. I just go.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, there's a couple more things I want to talk about. Obviously, the sort of emotional side of running a business. Sometimes it can be brutally hard, and it's like, oh my God, it's insurmountable. What am I going to do? Nothing's working. Sometimes it's like, this is great. Everything's too good.
I could give you a high and a low on the same day. So I won't give you the name, but I was the group sales and marketing director for an outsourcing revenue management business. And revenue management is a posh word for debt recovery, but for the banks. So
revenue
we did
management.
The professional stuff. Yeah. Revenue management sounds better. And I remember walking into the group chief or chief risk officer, CRO, for Barclays Bank. And we were running a pilot against them. And they were collecting internally, we were collecting externally. And I remember going out to a meeting at Canary Wharf with my MD at the time. And I got in front of this guy, which you don't get in front of this guy. It's very, very, particularly with the work that we were doing. But we were doubling their performance, probably more than that, but at least doubling their performance pound for pound. We were collecting twice as much, twice as quick for half the money. He had something like 700 people collecting overdue, overdrafts, credit cards, etc., loans, you name it. And he walked down this corridor in Canary Wharf. We sat in this massive boardroom, like twice the size of this room. And he had two secretaries walking. I remember this vividly. He had two secretaries walking behind him, writing notes. Not one, two, which was making a statement, I'm sure. And I was, at the time, I was about 30. So this is, 27 years ago. And I still remember it to this day. And he walked in and he went, "Hi, Chris, I'm really, really impressed with your tenacity to get in front of me. But I've looked at the numbers that you've sent me. I've checked them out. And you're right. You are collecting twice as much for twice as quickly for half the amount. So what I'd like to do is I'd like to outsource all of my collections to you. I'm going to get rid of those 750 people. We'll redeploy them somewhere else, and we want to give it all to you." And I went, right, that's amazing. That's the right answer because that's what we do, and we'll just improve on that. And you can redeploy, do whatever you want to do, and so. Left it with us, and he said, right, and I've already agreed rates and all the rest of it. Went away, worth millions to us. Got in the car, and there was a chauffeur-driven car waiting for us outside to take us back to the airport. And the MD went, "Can't do it." Literally, within 4 minutes of getting in the car, I went, "Squeeze me?" And he went, "Can't do it. I've spoken to the owners, and we can't afford to do it. It will double the size of the business overnight. And it's too big. So that deal is too big." I'm 30, thinking, that's the deal of a lifetime. I will be the man in this industry that's just got that deal. And guess what? I'll then go to HSBC, I'll then go to Bank of Scotland, I'll then go to all the others, and I'll do the same with them. So I could have transformed that business from 800 people, making it 1,600 people, all the way through to, whatever, 5,000 people.
Was it even worth exploring ways to make it possible?
I tried, but they just went, we can't fund it. It's new resources, new people, additional stuff. Clearly, we didn't have 800 people waiting to do it, which I got. But when you're that age and you're not, I was on the board, but I wasn't in the inner circle when how would we fund this? And so major high, biggest deal probably I would have ever done. 4 minutes. How about that one? And I just thought, okay, we go again. So on the way back from between there and this may be just my mental fortitude, I just thought, okay, it's not the end of the world. I had to ring the guy the next day and said, unfortunately, we can't do it. He understood and he said, that's fine, I get it. And I said, unless you can think of a different way of doing it where you fund it up front. And he went, no, we can't do that because we're going to have to move these people somewhere else. So long story short, I had to walk away and I was still successful at what I did, but...
That would have changed your life.
Yeah, for a bit.
Yeah,
until the next one. Yeah, so there you go. So that's a high.
Quite a story.
The other one is signing the deal when I sold the trading floor of my business to Call Credit. That was
tell us more about that.
Yeah, so we started the business with an idea. I moved into an industry I knew nothing about. Why would you do that? Because I could, and I did. So I'd kind of left that kind of revenue management world, and I'd been as far as I could go, and it didn't really hold much kind of interest for me then. And it was a couple of years later, and then I started learning about data and the kind of the opportunity to work with data and monetize it. And I kept thinking, there's all this waste data out there. So at the time, the most expensive search term was cheap car insurance. And the big insurers and comparison sites were paying a fortune, but converting anywhere between 3 and 10%. So I spoke to a few people that I knew and said, so what are you doing with the other 90+%? And they go, we'll wait till next year on renewal and we'll write to them again. And I'm going, right, so you've paid, it's really, really give or take whether we make any money. So I said, right, leave it with me. And I thought about it and thought, so if I took that data, I cleaned it, I normalised it, it's all got marketing permission, so it's all done properly. I took that data, you will still own it, but I'll add value to it, I'll clean it, I'll do all the health bits and pieces, and I'll sell that data back into, so for example, somebody with a Rolls Royce is not going to buy from Admiral, because they're not going to get a deal, but they would buy from a specialist. So we could start to flick it around, but warranty companies, banks, credit card companies, offering services, you name it, data verification, because the data, if you think about it, if you're going online to insure your car, it's usually, that's where you live, that's what you do, that's your phone number, that's your car. A lot of that information was true, whereas back in those days, and still to a degree now, the whole world was really utilising prospect data, as they call it, from lifestyle questionnaires that people were getting paid to fill in. And generally, it's not accurate. They're not at work. They're making a few quid. Oh yeah, I make 100 grand and I drive an Aston. No, you don't. You've got food down your front, which was a term I used to use quite often with clients. So anyway, long story short, spent 2 years building the database. So we had 4 SQL programmers all earning a lot of money, with 0 coming in to build the technology. And then we had to persuade people to give me their data for free. That was easy. So everybody was all sat on their hands going, well, who's doing it? If they're doing it, I'll do it. And if they're doing it, I'll do it. And then I had to play the game with one of my clients and said, look, you are so well respected in this industry. If you do it, they'll all follow. And he went, really? I went, oh yeah, everybody said, if you're doing it, I'm doing it. He went, right, I'll do it then. So I just played on his own kind of way that he'd like to think about himself. And we went from that to making £7 million a year from data that was being thrown in the bin. And Call Credit came to me and said, we'd like to license your data. And I said, no, not happening. They offered me a lot of money to license it. I mean, a lot of money. One of those, do we do it? And I went, nope. And they said, why not? I said, because that's like getting milk back out of scrambled egg. It's never going to happen. So if you want it, you'll have to buy it. And we created a competitive environment. So Experian, Equifax, of about 7 or 8 companies that were all looking at it. And I wanted call credit because we were based in Yorkshire. I like call credit. I like the people. It made sense for my staff. We had 40 people, and I wanted to look after them as much as for me. I could have made more money elsewhere, but I didn't. It was the right thing. And then we sold, I stayed on, and then they promoted me to MD of marketing. So I went from 40 people to 350, I think.
That's incredible.
Yeah, that was a scary day, walking in for the first moment.
So obviously, I'm trying to master business growth, and I've learned a lot from that. Any closing statements, any advice you would give to me, to anyone listening, yourself if you started again?
Yeah, be focused. Be true to yourself. Stand tall. If something doesn't quite happen, it's a roller coaster. It's snakes and ladders, more than a roller coaster. You just think you're getting somewhere, and then, oh God, I've got to start again. Don't worry about it. You've got time. You've got time in your hands. You're a young guy, but don't be different for different sake, and just be good at what you do. The rest of it will come, but it will not come for free. It will cost you. You'll have bruises. You'll have things that let you down. But that's life. Life's a rich tapestry. I think it's amazing. So just have faith, but also use good quality people to advise you. Friends, coaches, whatever, guru, whatever term you want to use, just have some good people around you. That wasn't a thing when I was starting out. It is much more so now. And I've got my own coach, and she's amazing. Because on the weeks when I'm going, that's really frustrating me, she's going, another cup of tea. She defuses anything and she's there for me. And she's fantastic. And she's just so laid back. It's just unbelievable. So I think, surround yourself with good people. You are only as good as your worst person. And remember that. If you've got somebody in your business that's toxic, get rid. Don't care how good you think they are, get rid. Because you will lose your best people because you're not dealing with them. And other than that, just be as good as you could possibly be. Are we ever going to be the best? Probably not. But you could be as good as you can be. And people will recognise you. And if you make a promise, try and deliver on it.
I've really enjoyed that. Thank you so much.
Pleasure.
Thank you so much for watching this episode. Again, if you think you'd be a good guest on the show, then please drop me an email at joe@innersound.media. See you in the next episode.